this is actually tying into what I just said a second ago about you find a job that you don't like, um, and then you end up spending all the money that you make to somehow make yourself happy. So why do some people spend more money than they have? So the short answer is materialistic people can never feel their emptiness. So what is materialistic? It's the idea or the kind of people who think that if you buy certain things, that is enough to make you happy. And so I'll just give a few ideas before letting Saleh uh, share his opinion. So, or I'm interested in what he's got to say in response to a couple of ideas here. Um, so celebrities are a great example of people who seem to have everything. Like if you're, I want fame, I want money, and I don't know what else they have, but they seem to have what other people look up to, and they are famous for suffering from depression. It's all so common to hear of X, Y, and Z celebrity in rehab again. Okay. And then even if you're not interested in the extremes of celebrities, if you look at the general patterns, you've got this is what psychologists have been pointing out. They say, for example, in the US, um, people are getting bigger and bigger houses, but they're becoming more and more lonely in the sense that they have less and less true friends that they can rely on. And this is not psychologists somehow telling people that. This is what people are admitting. This is what they're saying themselves. Um, so just in case people don't understand how psychological experiments work, it's actually the people who the experiments are being done on. They are admitting these facts.
Yeah, but they
So
shouldn't be looked at as representatives for everybody else. Let's say
so
one in
part of
10
any
people say
scientific
that
no. So
doesn't
part
matter.
of a scientific experiment is to make sure that your surveys are representative, and so that is a very specific skill, mathematical skills. You follow certain rules. You say these people are in this category, that category, that category. So they're very careful to do these kind of experiments, and they do it over time in different cultures and things like that, right? So but that's just standard procedure when you do an experiment. So it's important to value to some extent um, what these scientists are doing because they, like you said, we have to listen to the specialists. So, but if you doubt what the scientists are doing, so you should make the effort to look into the experiments. And I do, by the way, I read a lot of research papers on happiness. So, uh, but there's a lot of trends basically saying the more stuff people are having, the more miserable they're becoming. They're taking more drugs. The amount of antidepressants is increasing despite people having more money. So, very simple example is uh, possibly the most affluent or richest country in the world is America, and it's also got the people with the most people taking antidepressants, which is the drug you take when you're depressed. So you can kind
Yeah,
of
but
make.
not everybody in America is rich. There are lots of poor places in America, so you
Hmm.
can't really judge that. They just got a high population, and there's only a few people carrying their whole average wealth.
Hmm.
Otherwise, most of them are poor, so you can't really judge like that.
Okay, so that's a really good point you made, right? Okay, so I was trying to make a very general statistic, but it is true that there are loads of people who are depressed. I mean, who are poor, or they're not rich. Okay, um, and so you'll find that there are loads of people who are on antidepressants who are rich as well. And if you do want a more more statistics, you can look at loads of countries where people are poor and they're not unhappy. So it's not really the amount of money you have. And so another way of explaining it is that, again, I can only refer to what psychologists say rather than people's opinions. Okay, but I think if you reflect, you'll see this is true for yourself. Um, that when psychologists talk about what it is that makes people unhappy, it's the poor relationships people have, not how much money. So they never really cite these things. Money is, you actually need very little of it to be happy enough. Like, you don't need tons and tons of food. In fact, the opposite is true. When you eat too much food, you actually become sick and you get diabetes. This is actually a problem that people suffer from in the West. They eat too much. So you say that, or there aren't enough, you're saying everybody in America is poor, okay, but actually they're eating so much more than they need that they're becoming sick. So it doesn't
No, but
seem
there
to
are
fit.
a lot of people that are poor. You can't just ignore that fact. You're
Mm.
talking about certain places.
No, I'm
So,
saying that the
London, yeah,
obesity problem,
people.
yeah.
If someone's outside of London, what they're gonna assume is a bunch of posh white people drinking tea, but that's not actually London. There are
Mm.
lots of bad places in London,
So I'm not
but
talking
you
about
don't
what
know that from outside of the world
sure.
because
Yeah,
what you're facing is stereotypical and
I'm not
what's
talking about
being pushed
stereotypical. So
onto
I'm
you.
not talking about movies. I'm talking
Yeah, but
about
you're not.
statistics by scientists. So
Yeah,
that's
well,
a
not
different,
everybody in America is fat though. Lots of them are poor as well. But
right?
you're just looking
Okay,
at a certain part of America.
sure. They do have a massive obesity problem, so it's not a secret. But anyway,
They do, but it's
um,
not everybody, and there's still a
that's
large
true.
amount that don't.
Sure, statistics are a general description of what's happening. It's true. Okay, so my experience. What else is worth pointing out? So yeah, so as I said earlier on, that another study, and we can talk about it logically. One study is that, uh, and I keep repeating it because it's the one I remember because it's so simple, is that people become happier when they're buying somebody else a coffee than buying themselves a coffee. Now, why would that make sense if you think about it? First of all, most people are not starving, right? And so, especially if they're buying a coffee, that's not a thing you do to save yourself from starvation because they didn't really fill you up in the first place, right? So it's an extra thing to have, okay? And so, why would buying a coffee for somebody else make you happier? Because psychologists tell us again, and you can possibly deny if you want, but we are social beings. And that's one of the key things that we depend on to be happy. And so when we have more interactions and more interesting interactions, like, oh, here's a coffee, I don't even know you, that's just a weird conversation that could, uh, you know, mm, you could have fun talking to each other, talking to somebody new. That's one idea. But also, it builds onto this very important thing that a famous psychologist known as Viktor Frankl, his name is Viktor Frankl, he said that it's meaning that makes us happy. So, meaning as in something good that makes sense to you. If you do it, it will make you happy. So, giving something to somebody else makes you happy because you're doing something that connects people in a broken society. Society is so lonely, this is again statistically true, that if you do something to build bridges between people, that must feel good. Anyway, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, there's two different ways that giving coffee example could work. Number one, you give someone else your coffee instead of having coffee yourself. Yeah, that's not good. But if you're going around, yeah, and you're financially stable well, and you're buying coffee for everybody else, and that's fine. People do that, and you can feel better about yourself. But a lot of the time, let's say it's not just coffee, like you want to you're buying a car for somebody, but you're not extremely rich. So yes, they'll be happy. I'll make you a bit happy giving them a car, but in the long term, you're like, I wish I had that car. That's not really the best feeling in the world because you're just gonna have some. They're gonna have something that you don't have after that.
So that's interesting. So you're kind of I think there are two
If you have
interesting.
it, then you can give something worse away.
Okay, so I'll focus on this idea. If you have it, then you can give something away, right? So we actually practically do not need much to survive. Okay, so we do have enough to give stuff away, but we keep telling ourselves we need the next thing, another
Yeah,
thing.
but there's difference between survival and living, if you know what I mean. Survival, you just need to have, let's say, cheeseburger and a glass of water every day. That's all you need. Literally, McDonald's cheeseburger, glass of water. That's, let's say, you spend £2 a day. Yes, that's all you need. Yes, but living is you buy yourself a nice meal, you enjoy it, more than one meal, that's 3, 4 meals. You buy yourself a nice bed. You can't sleep on the floor or outside like a homeless person, but that's surviving. That's not living. People in society nowadays have advanced to a point where we have the ability to live instead of just survive. So not everything we do is for survival.
I get what you're saying.
People
So
try
what
to
you're
enjoy
saying
themselves
is
too.
your idea of living is collecting more and more things, having more and more food and stuff like that. And I'm saying that that doesn't make you actually happier
I'm
by
happy
having
when
this.
I eat. Buy me food, I'll be happy. You can test that in real life.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So that's what most people think. So it's very interesting. So and you can be adamant like this is exactly how I feel when I buy more and more food and I stuff my face, I get happier. Okay. And we can claim that, but and I think and we do believe that actually. I think that's one of the problems that we believe that, but then bad things happen to us in the long run having that sort of very that way of thinking, um but it's kind of not listening to how we feel deep down.
So you're
um
saying that I'll be lying to myself deep
mm,
down. You're
yeah,
deciding that I'm lying to myself in my head. So
yeah,
are you gonna open up my head, look into my brain, and say that I'm lying to myself? There's a
right.
hadith, yeah, from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi
So
wasallam, yeah.
saying of Prophet
Uh,
Muhammad, yep, yep.
and what happened was a companion was they were in a war, yes,
A
and
friend of
then
Prophet Muhammad, yep, or yeah, companion of
yeah,
Prophet Muhammad, yeah.
and then the enemy was on the floor, and then before he got killed, he said, "I'm sorry, please forgive me. I want to convert to Islam, yeah." But the companion didn't listen and killed him. And then
Mm.
afterwards, he got told off by Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Do you know why?
Yeah, I
Because
understand,
he
because
said,
he's, yeah, go on.
Ed, that did you open his heart? Did you see inside if he's telling the truth, or did you just say that out of fear? How would you know? And that's the same situation. You're assuming that you know if I'm truly happy. Because personally, I'm not gonna lie to myself when I say I'm truly happy when I get given free food. Yeah, I would take it and I'd be happy. Yes,
So
if
I'll give you
someone
an
gave me free
idea.
food and
I
I
know,
gave
I
it
get what you're
straight
saying.
away,
I
I
get what
would
you're
not be
saying.
that
So I need
happy.
to respond so it gives value to people listening because I think everybody gets what you're saying. Yeah. So the point is, let's get if you everybody's level of conscious or self-awareness is different. Okay. Hopefully you keep developing it. So if we look at your baby sister, she'll say, I'm happy, you know, doing whatever I want, pooing my pants or something. Let me poo in my pants as much as I want. Let me jump off the table. Why are you telling me not to do that? Why can I do my suicidal moves, which we know she's always trying to do? Okay. So that's her awareness. Okay, but it doesn't mean it's true. She wants to eat lots of sugary stuff all the time, but that doesn't mean it really makes her happy. So certain awareness of herself is lacking in that sense. So we're always develop that, and we can develop that by listening to scientists who have studied more
Yeah, but
about
you're
us
giving more
than
extreme
we do.
examples. The
No, I'm trying
example
to give a
you
simple
gave
example.
was if
Yeah.
she jumps off a table, she's gonna get hurt afterwards. But if someone gives me a kebab, yeah, and I eat one, yes, that's not gonna kill me. The worst thing that can happen is I choke on it and die. Yeah, but
Sure.
that's not gonna happen. And so it's
Sure.
different from
Cool.
getting
So
hurt
let's move on
instantly
to the next
after.
one. 'Cause I'm
Bodies
trying
are
to keep it.
unhealthy.
Cool. Okay. So